Welcome to Grow Group Silitz Manor. I am so glad that you are here. I'm so glad that you decided to join a Grow Group tonight and dig a little bit deeper into our series called New, where we are discussing the fruit of the Spirit. Over the past several weeks, we've talked about love, which is a very desirable component of the fruit of the Spirit. We've talked about joy, and how most of us desire and want joy. We've talked about peace. And peace is something that we strive for and long for. The reason many of us take vacations is to find some peace in our journey. But the fourth component of the fruit of the Spirit is perhaps one of the most difficult for us to master or to surrender to the Spirit to, or surrender to Him for. Because after all, we've been reminded over and over again that the fruit of the Spirit is not something that you can achieve on your own, or it's anything I can achieve on my own, but it is the Spirit taking control of our lives and us yielding ourselves to the Spirit. It is the Spirit of God who can produce, and is the only one who can produce that kind of fruit in our lives. So Sunday we talked a lot about patience, what it means to have patience, how patience reveals really our view of God, our view of His strength, our view of His presence, our view of His timing. It reveals how much we trust in God and His control and leadership and guidance in our everyday lives. We talked about how patience is easy when things are going well, but patience is its hardest when we are dealing with difficult people or when we're dealing with difficult circumstances. However, we ended the talk or the message Sunday talking about how do we maintain a posture of patience in our everyday walk. The first thing we talked about was being thankful. Being thankful. Philippians 4:4 reminds us to be thankful, to rejoice and give thanks in the midst of everything. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what's happened in your life, in your day, in your week, you and I are still children of the King. And because of that, we can still, regardless of the circumstances, rejoice because we have hope and our eternity is secure. There's also a passage in 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 6. It says the following: "In this you rejoice, though now for a little while, if necessary, you have been grieved by various trials." So we may at times be grieved by various trials, but we are to be and continue to be rejoiceful or joyful, rejoicing, thankful. So secondly, after we remember to be thankful in each and every part of our walk, then it is to remember the purposes of God. That God has a purpose that perhaps you can't see, nor I can see, but we trust in Him that His purposes will be fulfilled in the end. Reminded of the story of Joseph. All those years in prison, all those years wondering, why me? All those years feeling abandoned by family and by friends, by people that he had helped. And yet it wasn't until years later that he understood the depths of God's purpose and the intricacies and the details that God had been working out all along so that Joseph could become a leader and a savior to his people. And lastly, that we remember the promises of God, that He'll never leave us, never forsake us, that all things, the good, the bad, the ugly, all things will work together for good for those that love the Lord. So if you want to grow in patience, it really comes down to two things: belief and faith that God is who He says He is, and surrendering to His lordship or His kingship in your life. Do you have patience? I hope that you can grow in patience. I hope that I can surrender and grow in patience, because patience is a key component of the fruit of the Spirit. It is a key example and testimony of the power of Jesus to transform your life and my life. Enjoy your Grow Group tonight.